Dankeschön. So, hey everybody, welcome to my session on System Center, PowerShell, and 802.1x. First question, who knows what 802.1x means actually? Okay, so I prepared a little introduction into it, but I'm not going into the deepest details here. So first of all, look to the agenda. As I said, we have a short thing about 802.1x with an overview of it, some benefits of it, shortcomings, and MAC bypass. You'll see what that is. And then we go into a bit more into detail about the device registration in an automated way. So first of all, with 802.1x, it's a standard of the internet engineering, blah blah. What is this called? I always forget this acronym. Sorry? Abbreviation. Yeah, thank you. It's basically a standard about how to securely connect devices to a network. And it's most commonly used in enterprise wireless network solutions. And it basically works the way that you have a supplicant, which is most often a computer or a mobile phone or something with a certificate that wants to connect to a network. May it be your local network or in the end into the internet or something like that. And when 802.1x is present and activated, that device is not able to just plug in and have network access because the authenticator knows on this port internet access is not allowed or network access is not allowed. I have to ask my authentication server if that device is allowed to enter the network. And most often, it does it with a computer certificate. So the authenticator reads the first bits, so to say, passes it to the Radius server. In our case, it's a ARUBA Radius server, but it can be anything. And if the Radius server, the authentication server says that access is OK, then it sends back the OK message to the authenticator, and the authenticator then turns the port on and the device has access to network. And basically then everything that is connected there. This is, as I said, only a really short introduction to it. If you want to go into the details, there are lots of Wikipedia articles about it. And I think nearly every network vendor is supporting 802.1x. I think it's been around since like 15, 20 years, so should be working. Okay, so what are the benefits of that system? One big benefit actually is that the VLAN information of that port is not provided by a static configuration of the switch. Instead, it can be done with the result of the authentication server. So if the authentication server says, this is a device I want to put into my office VLAN, then it gives that answer, and the switch automatically configures the port right. So that's a huge benefit. If you have a big company and your help desk is not just sitting around all the day waiting for some new stuff to do, or the users can plug in their devices and they're automatically in the right VLAN. Another big benefit is you know which devices are really connected to your network, and also you know where they are connected. Because with your network management tools from your network vendor, you can then see this device is connected at that port, in that room, whatever you are doing. And you have your secure network plugs or sockets, your secure network sockets in stuff like meeting rooms or so. And you don't have to patch all the time. I don't know how many of you are working in bigger companies where some guys of the help desk are just running around, getting a call saying, hey, I got to move today, and I'm moving from here to there, and please patch my network socket. And then the help desk person goes out, goes to the network cabin, plugs all the things he has to do, tells the user, hey, you can connect now, and thank you, blah, blah, blah. User goes to his new location, plugs in, and it does not work. Why does it not work? Because the network port is not configured to be in the right VLAN, for example. Or the user tells you, I need a network plug there, but they forget to mention that they want to add a printer to the network and not their PC. So with that solution, you can get faster user reactions. They can move, and if the money is there, you can improve a secure, fully patched network in your company. That was the wrong direction. But there are also some shortcomings of that certificate-based approach alone. For example, when you have devices that cannot be authenticated with certificates because they cannot handle certificates, what some old devices do. I'm working in a company where we have a huge plant, and some of the machines are just not capable of using certificates. So how do you implement things like those machines, like multifunction printers? They often offer some kind of certificate handling, but if you look into the settings of that stuff, then to import a new certificate, you have to copy a certificate to a USB thumb drive, walk to every multifunction printer in your company, which can be, as you know, hundreds, and then plug it in, reload, reboot the system, check if it's still working, and that every year, because your certificate runtime is not longer than a year, or should be. And often there are also some problems with internet or voice over IP phones, which often are managed by another company, some telecom vendor or something like that, and you just don't have access to it to provide the certificates. So about 10 years after the standard has been released, there has been an enhancement to it, introducing the so-called MAC bypass, which is basically kind of a way to store information in your Radius server based on the MAC address of a device. This should not be your default option to do. You should try to get everything with certificate handling that is possible, but as I said, there will be devices that won't work this way. And for those devices, you can use that solution. One thing that's bad for the MAC bypass thing, if you do it manually, you will have a lot of work for your help desk again. Because as you can imagine, in a plant floor, they're moving lines, they are moving multifunction printers, they're moving and moving and moving and getting new stuff and deleting also. So you have to have some way of managing your MAC database for your Radius server. If you have enough help desk stuff, that's okay. You can do it that way, but in my company, we don't have. And so I came up with that solution, which is basically a way for the users to enter their information into a self-service portal that is provided by System Center Service Manager. Who is aware of Service Manager? Who knows what that is? A little bit, okay. Service Manager is kind of the stepchild of the System Center suite of products from Microsoft. It provides a way, you could see it's a ticketing system combined with the CMDB, but it's in this case only used as an end-user portal because they provide an out-of-the-box portal which you will see right now. Then the next thing is we use Orchestrator. Who's aware of System Center Orchestrator? Same people, okay. Orchestrator is basically the older version of SMA or Azure Automation, so to say. Microsoft acquired Orchestrator, I think, like 12 years ago from Opalis. And they are really providing a way to integrate different systems into another to automate processes. You will see a runbook. That's what they call a process that is automated in one of the recorded videos we will see then. Orchestrator itself has no self-service portal. That's why we use Service Manager in this demo. Service Manager is collecting the data, checking, doing some input requirement tests, and then it's passing all the data to Orchestrator to give it away. And Orchestrator then gets that information, checks something on it, and puts it through the ClearPress, the Aruba, that's our Radius server, as I said, through the API, puts it into Radius, and then the device can be connected and can be used. So, a short demo here. I had to record those demos before because I don't want to provide any sensitive data in this open environment here because it's really actually from our running system. So if you want to see anything interactional with our orchestrator thing or so, you can just come to me later and then we can go into the some of the breakout rooms or something like that if you need any more information. Okay. So what you see here is the self-service portal of the Service Manager thing. And I have to say, this is the old version. This is the version of 2012 R2 and 2012. It's completely based on SharePoint 2010 and Silverlight. Actually, now they have an HTML5-based solution for that. And there are also lots of third-party portals for Service Manager. Cyresin is one, to name one, or I think, what's the name? The ITnetics portal, some guys from Switzerland, they also do a great, great portal for the end users. Okay, so going back here a bit, what you see is inside that portal, there are some kind of services. You actually don't see it because I recorded it too late. So I chose my request in the portal that's called add new NAC device. NAC is for network access control. And when you then provide the information by go to request form, then the request opens up. You have to specify a name, a short description with it, and then one of the relevant information is coming up. We have to put in the MAC address. Cool thing is, with the Service Manager self-service portal, you can do some input checks. It would not really help you if you put psconf.eu as a MAC address into the system. So we can stop the user from inputting wrong data directly in the self-service portal, so we don't have to do any inline error handling at this stage. In our system, we also have a so-called security zone concept. Maybe just while I'm slower typing, as you see. In our environment, we have a security zoning system because we want to do some network segmentation and so on, and we somehow want to provide the users the information how they, or not the information, we want to give the users the possibility to add their device to the right network zone. That's what you will see here. Short description, what's the device needed for, and then the selection at which location the user wants this device to be used. Because we have 5 locations. We have one location in Mexico, China, Poland, and so on. But we want all users to have the same user interface to interact with the network security solution there. So user has to provide that information, has to check if wireless access is needed for that system, and what kind of device that is. So what you see here, well, let me go back. So yeah, this is the security zone, and then you have to put in which user requested the installation of that device. So that's the end user side of the whole thing. Now, depending on your service request, you can add a approval step to the whole request. I'm not doing this in this demo, but in the real world, you would have an automated approval request based on the location, for example. So if somebody chooses the location DC Mex, then, for example, the IT manager of Mexico must approve that this device will get access to the system. We don't want any end user to just put in any device, his mobile phone, just to watch YouTube or play on Facebook or something like that. So in the real world scenario, the end user, the IT manager should approve. And yeah, sure.
Because I remember one question. Because I remember that it was needed to install that additional package application approval workflow.
No, not.
For that to work or something.
Where?
AEW. The name was automation approval workflow package or something.
No, not really. It's inside Service Manager in this case. Inside Service Manager, you have automation activities, approval activities, and some other stuff which is not relevant here. In our case, that's what I should have done. The request is basically just getting the information. If you had a approval step, then it would approve. It would tell the approver, hey, there's something to approve for you. Approver would also go to the portal and check or uncheck approval. And then that information is passed to Orchestrator.
Because that package was doing some runbooks for Orchestrator or something. Maybe it was just all.
Maybe with SMA. For SMA, you had to import another kind of module to Service Manager. Yeah. Okay. So then the orchestrator part, as I said, the information in Service Manager is now at this point where it's supposed to trigger an Orchestrator Runbook. And what you see here is actually our Orchestrator Runbook console. A runbook, as I said, is a combination of different steps that are executed in a defined manner. So what you see here, this is our initialized data step, so to say, where is defined which information has to come into the runbook for the runbook to work. And this is kind of a bit advanced runbook where we jump to other runbooks inside the runbook, because when you start with Orchestrator, you're happy that you can just automate things, integrate to other systems, get information there, and just happy and do stuff. What you relatively soon realize is the bigger that thing goes, the bigger it is, the more unreadable it is. Yeah? So I get runbooks which span over like 3 or 4 display sizes, which are just unreadable. So Later on, when you're used to it, you split your functions into separate runbooks, which you then call from your normal, like PowerShell modules and stuff, commandlets. So that's the initialized data. You see here we have so-called activity ID, which is one relevant information from Service Manager. The integration of Orchestrator and Service Manager is basically that Orchestrator knows how to handle activity IDs. And so this activity ID is like a GUID for interacting for the systems. We have all those relevant information that the user put in, like device name, type, the MAC address, the reason, and so on, all that information. Just wanted to click on finish, which does not work in a video. And then we invoke our runbook get request creator, which is, as I said, like a module where Orchestrator is triggering and querying the Service Manager information database with that activity ID to get the user that started actually the request, because we need that information for later. Cool thing about Orchestrator is it's putting every information inside a bus, so to say, and you can, at every time, from every step, go to an information from one step or many steps before. That's why we're just getting the information here, storing it inside our runbook bus, so to say, and later we will get that information and bring something out. So next step then, when we got our request creator, we are querying a SQL database for all devices that are currently, go to back. We're querying the database to see if that MAC is already registered in the system, because we don't want to start the whole process if the device is already in there. And the next thing is then, it's just basically get everything from a table, which is really only one layer and nothing strange there. Gets everything, stores it into the bus. So we generate a review date because we have to say if there are new devices in the system, in the network, we have to review it for auditing reasons and so on. So after 1 year, the requester should be getting an email saying, hey, 1 year ago, you added this device. Is this still relevant, or can we just throw it away? And if any of those steps fails, we will fail the whole runbook, causing the service request to fail also, so the user gets notified that something is not good in there. So now we get the device responsible user, which is also a field inside Service Manager. This is one of the things that's a bit bad about or not good, bad, I think it's bad, about the integration between Orchestrator and Service Manager. You sometimes have to make some big ways around to get to your information that you need. Like in this case, we have to get from our activity, we have to get the service request, that's the parent object of it. Then we have to run through each user object that is stored inside there. And if this user object fits a special type, then we can see, okay, it's the type of the user that has been selected as responsible person. So you would imagine you just go up there, check that field. Doesn't work that way. So you create a runbook for especially that purpose, that you then trigger from other runbooks. That's what's happening here. And then you return from that runbook the other information to your main runbook, so to say. Okay. So that has happened. And now we are adding the device that has been added by the user into a SQL database, which we then read out in our PowerShell script to generate the XML file that we then will upload. So I will show that file. It's nothing really fancy, just the PowerShell script laying in the scripts folder in here. And here's one important thing about Orchestrator. Orchestrator has some limitations in working with PowerShell, which is really sad, but it is the way it is. It can only run 32-bit PowerShell in version 3. There are some add-on activity packs that try to run scripts in other PowerShell versions, but yeah, they sometimes work, sometimes they don't. So I ended up just using a run command line, opening PowerShell, and opening then that script. So with that thing, we also can provide some credentials that the PowerShell script should run with, because as you can imagine, the Radius server does not accept input from anybody, just throw in something at the API. So we have to get the credentials inside Orchestrator, where they are stored securely, and then provided at this special activity. Yeah. As I said, I will show you that XML file, or the PowerShell script, better said. So we do that. We created our XML file with the PowerShell script, and now we have an Invoke REST API step where we just read the file, and for each entry, each XML entry we find, we upload it. That's another cool thing about Orchestrator. You can just iterate through objects that one activity finds and puts out. The next activity can put up every of those output objects itself. If that is uploaded, then it's basically saying success, yee. And the main runbook will then finish and send out an email to the request creator that that device is now inside the database. The whole process is taking about 2 minutes. So if you have somebody saying, I need to move, or I have a new whatever thing, just type it in there. After approval, 2 minutes later, they can use it in the whole company, completely irrelevant where they just plug it in. They plug it in, they are in the right VLAN, and they can just use it. So that really helps the help desk to do other stuff. And yeah.
Any database for sanity check? So, for example, if a user can input any MAC address and request to add any kind of device to be allowed in the network, do you have any kind of sanity checks if the device he wants to add is the true that we want to have in our network, or is it his own private laptop?
No, that's basically the thing that I said for the approver. So in a real-world implementation where you go live with that for your users, you would have some kind of approval in front of that.
Okay, so still a person that needs to check whether the device
In our case, yes.
I think we can just add a separate state, right? Step before the approval, just some additional step.
Sure. In Service Manager, you can add some activities before that to check, like something like that, which could trigger another Orchestrator Runbook, checking all the things you want to check. Maybe go out to some internet-based database if this is really a laptop or a mobile device instead, so like sanity tests, something like that. Yeah, could be done easily and integrated into the Service Manager before actually running here.
into your CMDB to check whether the device is company owned?
Something like that. No, absolutely no problem. Yeah. So, okay. So this is just really simple, the script that is creating the XML file. I'm having my master XML node, so to say, in a template file, which I just read in, and then I point out all the results as one XML into that file. With that little SQL function here, I just go out to the SQL server, read all information that is in that database. This is a function that really can be done better, I think. We got some SQL DBAs here. They probably would shake their head and punch me in the face for something like that, but that's the way it works here. And then I just do a SQL query and get all the entries of this table. And for each of them, I then create an XML node. Basically, that's what's happening here. How did I get to the nodes? Basically, by just really reading the documentation of the ClearPass API and fetching some information, finding out what it needs. One troubling thing in this case was that the XML standard is not completely implemented, and there are some things that are not working as supposed to, but in the end, we figured it out. And so basically, for each device that we find in that list, we create a node in the XML. We clean out the what's the name for that one? The column. Yeah, we clean out the column from the MAC addresses because the Aruba does not want them inside their MAC list. And then we just save it as an XML, which then, as shown before, gets picked up by Orchestrator. Okay, that's it. And in the end, just to show you, we are now searching for this MAC address inside our Aruba system, and it should bring up our device, which is now it's inside the database, and the user can just use the network. We have our demo thing, we have all the information we need, and based on that information, our firewall system can now determine in which security zone that device should be. If it's in the production and does not have any internet access or something like that, depending on your needs, that could be done this way. Yeah. So,
Direct access to the switch?
Sorry?
Is it a direct access to the switch? Do you provision the switch?
In this case, through the standard, it's directly provisioned at the port level, not only at the switch level, but at the port level. Yes. So with the answer of that authentication server, this port is configured for the uptime of that device. We are actually using Cisco switches. Aruba is only our authentication server here. We are using Cisco's standard switches. I don't know which one exactly, but this is some networking protocol that 802.1x is the network protocol which all the vendors normally supply or support. Yeah.
You also provision then the automatic learning of the port of the switch? For example, if the switch has a root to a server like this, for the port, does it also be automatically learned by this Aruba?
No, you have to provide the zones, and you have to provide in your switch configuration the VLANs, and the routes are made based upon the VLANs, and so that way it works. Okay. Yeah, that's basically it. We're a bit early, but that's okay, I think. That security system 802.1x is not only implemented user-friendly in mobile devices, so it can be implemented also in wired network. And it can save you a heck of a lot of time if you don't have to repatch all your ports all the time when somebody is moving, I can tell you. User self-service is important, like such a portal. It doesn't matter if it's a service manager, self-service portal, or any other solution. They are important to automate your stuff. And yeah, APIs are your friends. Read the documentation for it and play around. You don't have to use Orchestrator or something. You can just natively go to the API with PowerShell also. But in this case, we wanted the integration with the self-service portal, and we chose this way to do. So now there's not only 50 minutes break, there's a bit more. Do you have some questions? Any more? Nothing. And this is just basically how you can reach me if you want. I'm working as a systematic architect at Deal Controls, which is, we are making some electronics for household devices like washers and dishwashers, refrigerators, something like that. So I'm nearly sure in 2/3 of your machines we're somewhere inside there. If you want to reach me, the best way is actually Twitter. And I'm also a co-founder of the PowerShell user group Southern Germany. I don't know, if somebody is around in Southern Germany in the next time or so, drop me a hint. Maybe we can get together in a PowerShell user group meeting or so. Thank you.